What's up, everybody? This is your boy Optimus Prime 105, and I'm coming at you guys with a Transformers movie review. I'm not reviewing Transformers, I'm not reviewing Revenge of the Fallen, and I'm damn sure not reviewing Dark of the Moon. The movie that I'm reviewing to you guys tonight, well, technically morning, is Transformers Age of Extinction. Yes, Michael Bay has returned to, I guess, spark up another controversial movie that has received a lot of mixed reviews. I mean, it made like 120 million on Friday, so that's pretty crazy. And pretty much in this video, I'm gonna split into two parts. We're gonna have the non-spoil review, I like my thoughts, and then I'm gonna dive into it with the spoiled part. It's gonna be part two. So let me see here. We've got a Galaxy S3. Let's jump into this. So the synopsis of the story is pretty much it's not really clear, but it's, some people say that it's 4 years after Dark of the Moon. They don't really reference it much. They reference it a couple times, and then they kind of just leave it on the ground. But in Dark of the Moon, the humans are fed up with the Autobots, and they make the Autobots leave. Decepticons deceived them, took over Earth, aka Chicago. Autobots came back, yada yada yada. You guys know how that movie ended. But in this one, the humans are pretty much saying, screw the Autobots and Decepticons. It's gotten to the point where both sides are in hiding. And they're targeting mostly the Autobots, and there's this one scene that's in the beginning. I'm not gonna say anything. I'll wait until the spoiler part of the review, in which a main G1 Autobot gets torn to shreds, which introduces the movie's main villain, Lockdown. If you don't remember Lockdown, he was introduced in Transformers Animated. Lockdown is a bounty hunter who pretty much hunts down Transformers and steals their weapons, etc., as trophies. For example, in Transformers Animated, he stole Ratchet's EMP blaster, I think, and that was a trophy. But obviously, no trophy comes any close to Optimus Prime, and that's a really big hint. Lockdown is working with the humans to find Optimus Prime. I'll jump into that later in the spoiler part, but pretty much the humans, they discovered Transformium, and it's technically what the Transformers are made of, and they kind of use that element to create their own Transformers that they perfected, and that's better than the Autobots in every way, which leads to another. He's a main villain in the G1 universe, but he's kind of like a side-off character that's being polished for the future Transformers movies. I'll get to him later in the spoil part, but and pretty much the people that's behind that are KSI, headed by, what was his name? His name was Kelsey Grammer. Well, that's the actor's name. He played a guy named Harold Attinger, and he's kind of like the head guy that's he's kind of like looking over everything, make sure progress is being kept up. But I think the guy that really steals the show, at least the first half of the movie, is definitely Stanley Tucci. He plays as Joshua Joyce. Now, I was really impressed with his character. His character was really good. Which, speaking of human characters being really good, that brings me to the main lead, the main leads for the human parts of Transformers. Mark Wahlberg actually did a pretty good job as Cade Yeager. He's a beat-down inventor that's constantly inventing things that have potential, but they always fail. He's a failure. He's trying to get his daughter, Tessa, aka Nicoletta Peltz, into college. Not really working. I'll get to what happens with him in the spoiler part, but he did a pretty good job. You could tell that his quote unquote the other guys and quote unquote Ted side came out of him in certain parts. He's really good with humor, and that's the one thing that I like about this movie that wasn't really in the first trilogy was the humor. Michael Bay toned down a lot of the humor. Remember the humor that was in Revenge of the Fallen with the twins, how all that ignorant stuff, and kind of the same thing with Dark of the Moon. Well, it's toned down a lot, and that's what I love. Let's see here. CGI was great. Bay constantly pushed ILM to their, I wouldn't say their breaking point, kind of like to the ceiling, and they're constantly breaking the ceilings. I really like that. The Transformers, they look amazing. I used to overdo this a lot with Prime. Prime looks a lot different, and I wasn't really a fan of it. I was like, what? Come on now, Optimus Prime in G1, he's always kept the same form in every episode. How are you going to change it up like that? But then, you know, I'm not saying that I like it, but I do prefer the trilogy of Optimus. Same thing with Bumblebee. He looks completely different. I know they're trying to make each Autobot look like, oh yeah, that's him. That's Jetfire. You know, he was in G1. You know, they're trying to give you that nostalgic feel, and it works sometimes. Robot cast. Let's get into that. So the Autobots, we have Optimus Prime, we have Bumblebee, we have Crosshairs, we have Drift, we have Hound, we have Ratchet. And on the Decepticon side, we have Lockdown, the perfected Transformers, Lockdown's Decepticons, and then you have Galvatron. It's obvious. He's in the trailer. He's in one of the trailers for like 1 second. But I'll get into him in the second part of the review. This movie clocks in at 2 hours and 45 minutes. It is definitely an endurance test. I didn't fall asleep, but I was like, man, I'm tired. You know, the film did throw some ideas that if they took it in the right direction, it could do the series justice. And that's pretty much thanks to Lockdown throwing heads at Optimus Prime and the humans about a certain somebody, which I'll get into that in the second part. Lockdown was nothing that we've seen in the Transformers movie verse. He did his thing. He was definitely a Jason Strahan robotic version, except he didn't use knives. You can definitely tell he was a bounty hunter. My only complaint for the non-spoiler part is, if you're going to have Lockdown's face turn into a cannon, why couldn't you get Galvatron to transform into a cannon? That's about it. But, of course, the Dinobots are in there, and a lot of people would say that the Dinobots really saved this movie, because this was how, to me, this was how Transformers Age of Extinction was going. That's exactly how it went, to be honest. And the story-wise, like the plot, some say it was scattershot, some say it was horrible. I mean, what do you expect? Do you expect the Transformers movie to be like a Leonardo DiCaprio film? Not really. But I feel like Age of Extinction definitely has one of the best plots, next to the first one. So overall, I give this movie about an 8 out of 10. The highest would be 9, the lowest would be 8. But that's the not spoiler review. So check me out later for the spoiled up review. This is Optimus Prime saying good night.